Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Stay Off My Lawn. It's June 25th, 2024, and this is episode 72.
72. Holy. I've been sitting across from this mic looking at you for 72 episodes. No, I haven't. One of them was not you.
No, it was that's right. It was Charmaine. And we need to ask her back.
Much better. I enjoyed that episode far more.
I mean, if I couldn't, I mean, I totally see that. So, I mean, yeah, I've got nothing to say. You're not hurting my feelings at all. It's very difficult in the first place, but yeah, you're not hurting my feelings. Yeah, but we need to ask her back.
Sorry, I really had to point that out. It was not necessary, but I thought I'd point it out anyway.
The eye strain is so much better with her. And the glow off of my glistening forehead here is, and yeah. Anyway, yeah, we need to ask her back. I think before the election, I want to get her take on Biden. And I know she's not necessarily a Biden fan, and I don't think most of Great Britain is our Biden fans.
No, they had a huge rally. There were thousands of people there all wanting Trump to win. This is happening around the world, that they're rooting for Trump to win.
I think
that's just kind of strange.
That conservative prime minister that effectively is a rhino in the whatever they would call it in their country, but he's ended up being kind of a do nothing guy. Sumar Runak, I can't remember his name now.
I can't remember the name either.
But anyway, he hasn't really been too effective. So anyway, I'd like to get her take on a lot of this. I think I read the other day that we are in a year that's very unique. It's like 40%, it's a 40 or 60% of the world is going to the polls this year, as opposed to other years. It's just just a lot.
Yeah. So. Well, over in Europe, then they've had that many going to the polls. All the ones that were these rooting with the World Economic Forum and such have all been ousted.
Oh, I know.
They're getting ousted left and right, one after another. So
that socialist Macron is out, and
yep.
And you were saying somebody in the person that was in Denmark, the one who tried to shut down
the Netherlands, that they were doing stuff. They're not the green. I forget what the hell they're called, but anyhow, they were on the side of the farmers. Got enough stuff in that they blew the others out of the water.
Beautiful.
So,
it's beautiful.
That's happening. You got the European Union, whatever their little country thing is that they've got, that was all WHO and WEF and all that stuff. Had a huge amount of conservatives that were voted in, and I don't understand how the voting in works.
I don't know either.
At any rate, they got in. So things are moving the other direction. This stuff of pushing, and it's, Klaus even stepped down from the WEF.
I saw that.
So, because people, they're not listening anymore. It's just flat not happening to the WHO, to the United Nations, to any of them.
I think post-COVID has woken a lot of people up because, they realized that they were lied to by people that you wouldn't think would lie to you. Here, growing up, when you and I grew up, I mean, you trusted who the government was and what they told us. My parents weren't distrusting of the government whatsoever. And so, I mean, I kind of had the same attitude, they just want what's best. Well, it turned out that wasn't necessarily the case. And I think Europe, they were treated even much worse than we were here in the U.S. Then you had the farmers, they were clamping down on all that stuff, all in the name of climate change, which is definitely hoaxish, if you will.
Yes, there is more and more stuff that's coming out fact-wise that when you pick and choose to make your stats,
yeah, exactly.
Kind of not a real stat anymore.
Yeah. Now the conservatives have been guilty of doing that themselves too. So I mean,
Yep,
uh,
both sides.
yeah, but yeah, when it comes to look at Justin Trudeau, perfect example with the carbon tax and the whole thing that he's implemented up in Canada, all about climate change. Every time he opens his little mouth, it's about climate change. It's like, dude, you're just going to have to get over yourself. And I think most of Canada, if this Pierre guy gets in there, it's going to be a radical change up there. And that
Yeah.
happens, and Trump gets elected. I think we may see a revolution. I mean, I've been a little bit skeptical on whether we can pull ourselves out of this, but that may be the difference.
Well, we can hope that we get back to not stomping on and using the Constitution as a unwelcome mat or a welcome mat, and not vetting any. No other country does that.
No.
It's like, give me a break. And those that have allowed a bunch of folks in from third world countries are suffering the same problem
Oh, yeah.
of third world problems.
Absolutely.
You let third world come in, you have third world problems.
They got buyer's
And
remorse
that's
in
not to
Sweden. They've got all that. Yeah.
Yep. It's not to say we're against immigration, but there's immigration the right way.
Exactly.
It's getting vetted, and not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry waltzing across, whether it's the southern border or the northern border, because they're starting to go
course.
that way too.
Of course. We've got
Boy.
I know I've mentioned this before. We've got a friend from Haiti, and her husband is from Denmark. And it's like, and we were talking about this whole thing when Biden first got elected. We're very good friends, and we don't agree on a lot of politics, but we are adults, and we get past it. It's not a big deal. We still love each other. Everybody's friends.
Yes.
But she said, "So are you anti-immigration?" I said, "Obviously not. I've got you two sitting at my table, don't I?" I mean, but it was like, I just want you to come through the front door. Just
Yeah.
because I lock that front door once people come in doesn't mean I hate everybody on the outside. It's just because I'm protective of who I let in, and because I love the people on the inside. And it's the same with the country. You just have to be careful on who you let in. You have to have a vetting process. And unfortunately, with the open southern border, the way Biden came in and renounced everything that Trump did during his 4 years in. As soon as you do that, you start letting people in from Ecuador, and unfortunately, that seems to be a lot of the people that are making are doing these a lot of these crimes, the rapes and the murders and everything. You can't vet third world countries because they don't keep track of things like we do here. It's not the same as what you would think. There's no birth certificate. Nobody's walking around with an ID. They don't. It's just not that way.
Oh, I just saw a deal on that the other day. There were hundreds upon thousands of IDs just dumped on the other side of the border just before they come over. Get rid of them. So I have
By
no
design.
ID. You can't.
By
Yep.
design.
They don't want them. Anyway, boy, did we get off track
We
quick.
sure did. That was very fast. We didn't even talk about our weekend. We ate a lot of steak, and we had time with family.
Yes.
So there you go.
That's pretty much it. And both of us went to Costco and
Oh,
killed our budgets.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate it when I was telling off the air that we had the household, because the wife's not been, we just haven't been to Costco. She actually walked the whole store.
That's
I was
awesome.
really proud of her.
That's awesome.
But yeah, all the staples, we got to get this, we got to get that. It's like all at the same time.
And the grand total was
475
Oh
smackers.
my goodness! Oh my goodness! We got up to we got up to the counter because we bought a bunch of stuff too, and it's like the buggy was just full, and I'm thinking, man. And Barbara looks at me. She goes, "What do you think?" I said, I'm guessing 470. I was right in your ballpark, and it's like she goes, "I'm thinking about the same thing," and so she sent me some money, just because she felt guilty about having it coming out of my account, because you can only swipe one card. So we got up there, and it only ended up being 350. So that means that the retirement account is okay as long as we don't live past December. So I mean that's really the only caveat.
Well, and I made a boo-boo. We have with my business account, we get rebates on how much you spend at Costco over the year. Well, I had a rebate of just shy of $90. That would have tempered it a whole lot, but it was still sitting at home about 5 inches with a magnet above the doorknob, and walked right out the door without it.
Yeah, I leave
Uh,
stuff at home all the time. I'll put something on the kitchen table and something else will get set on it. I'll completely forget about it. Like coupons, I do that with coupons all the time. It's like, oh, I got a good coupon here for Cheerios or something. And it's like, and it sits there, and by the time I find it, it expired 2 months ago. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, yeah, and I did some fixing to my property. I had a sprinkler head that went. I've got a. I moved the water by moving it on a manifold that's manual. I have a hose that comes. Hey, you know what? It works for right
yeah.
now. I've got the stuff to make a whole manifold, but it's a little above my pay grade to figure it out. I'm not that smart.
You know,
Oh
uh,
well.
it's going to be okay. Plus, they're going to turn off
Yeah.
your water anyway. We're going to talk about that later.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah,
yeah.
my water comes from a ditch.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I pay for water rights.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that a lot of farmers were paying for water rights that they were not going to get. We'll
Oh,
talk about
yeah.
that
Yeah,
later.
we'll talk about that. Yeah. First, I want to hit this. The world's largest airline pilot union, the Airline Pilots Association International, or ALPA, they represent over
Alpa.
ALPA. Yeah, it's like dog food. They represent over 70,000 pilots worldwide, and states that it collaborates with the United Nations agency on its policies. And that's kind of where they probably went off track. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
that's not a good thing
just
anymore.
sounds like the beginning of something moronic, one way or the other. According to a diversity, equity, and inclusion language guide, that tells you right there we're in trouble. They
Oh,
they released this in 2021. ALPA lists numerous terms and phrases that they are looking to avoid, especially the masculine generalizations that it deems to be non-inclusive. Some words, some of these new words, I just don't think
are you talking about like when they're talking to the tower and that kind of stuff?
it didn't really say. It just says that these pilots are not supposed to use these words, I guess, in any way, shape, or form. ALPA advised against using the words like mother and father. I mean, I'm personally offended that just coming out of my mouth. That phrasing could alienate different family structures, such as grandparents or caregivers, same-sex parents, among others. Uh,
Oh Lord.
yeah. Similarly, husband and wife. You can't say that. Boyfriend, girlfriend. Can't say that. All that should be avoided since the phrases could ignore same-sex couples. Um, I,
Do they have? I mean, I often call my wife is my bride and will be next month. 49 years. It's my bride of 49 years. Can't say that either because
Probably
that
not. If you're
connotates. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
if you're a pilot, they're probably gonna twist your knickers in a knot and make you sit on them. Um, ma manpower, you can't say manpower, you gotta say human or people power, or I don't even know what a
Oh,
lot of
for
these,
crying out loud.
yeah. Oh, the one my favorite one, though, that they wanna change is cockpit. They don't
Ugh.
they don't like cockpit. And I did a little bit of I went down a rabbit hole in this one. The term originated
No,
with
really?
I did, yeah. Once I start reading about stuff, yeah, it's pretty bad. The term originated with cockfighting in the 16th century, which was a bloody, high-intensity area. So they called that the cockpit because, anyway, and by the 18th century, it referred to an area on British warships where the surgeons treated the wounded. Okay, because again, that was the bloody, high intensity area. Well, the bloody part kind of like got lost in that language as it does, and just the high tension area where pilots flying the planes, especially when planes were still new. I mean, that would be pretty intense. It's like we don't know if we're going to survive this, yeah, but let's give it a shot. High intensity area, so that's how cockpits got their name in airliners or in airplanes. So
So what do we call it now? The flight seedy place?
I think they did it. I didn't write that down. They did have something that was going to be
Oh,
the flight control center or something. It's like it's so much easier. I mean, I feel so much more included. So, and that's what's really important. It's all about feeling. So
feelings,
feeling.
nothing. Yeah, none of
Uh,
this change of word stuff has really caught on, and it's kind of like a way of saying, "Tell me you're woke without telling me you're woke," type
exactly.
thing. If you're still using that, I saw a thing on the he, she, they, them, it, me, us, whatever, um, stuff that gets posted a lot. Not seeing as much of that anymore
Not as
because
much.
um, HR personnel were saying we have found that those that include that in their stuff, some of them were putting it on their resumes.
Yeah.
They were not getting looked at because they didn't show up on time. They didn't work well with others. They didn't work hard. They complained about a
Yep.
40-hour work week and were more likely to cause legal issues than anyone
Exactly.
else. So those that had that were being, whether
Eliminated. Yeah.
you can say, well, you weren't right for the job, we went another direction, or whatever it is they tell you when you don't get hired.
Yeah, that's a good point. If I was hiring, that'd be I don't even accept friend requests from people who have he, she, her, him, they, them, any of that. I just like, you know what? If you think that that's necessary to put on social media in your profile, then you and I don't have enough in common. So no, have a nice
No.
day.
Yeah.
Not that I have anything against those people, but I mean, yeah, it's not my thing.
Yeah, mine either. Anyway,
We are actually up against a break according to my clock. I think your clock's a little bit different, but anyway.
yep, I'm a little late clicking it.
Yeah. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and his spending of campaign funds. It's very interesting. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
This is the Stay Off My Lawn show and podcast. The grumpy old men you know and love. We'll be right back.
And here's Heather with the weather.
Well, it's beautiful out there, sunny and 75, almost a little chilly in the shade. Now, let's get a read on the inside of your car. It is hot. You've only been parked a short time and it's already 99 degrees in there. Let's not leave children in the back seat while running errands. It only takes a few minutes for their body temperatures to rise, and that could be fatal.
Cars get hot, fast, and can be deadly. Never leave a child in a car. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2. And we're going to jump right back in. Oh, by the way, if you want to contact us for any way, shape, or form, just we had one comment not too long ago where it's like, Richard, you're brilliant, but your partner, not so much. You have anything good like that? We love it. I delete things like that before anybody can see it because it goes straight to Richard's head. But other than that, send it on.
I won't be able to fit in my little tiny 4x4 booth. It just won't be room for it.
So if you want to send something to the boring guy and the dynamic personality in Richard, send it to soml@duck.com, or you can call us and leave a message. I believe the phone number is still working. I checked it the other day. It's 770-727-6443. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, brand new from the other lady that kind of looked like she was from a horror movie.
Beetlejuice.
That's the movie. I couldn't remember what it was.
That's what I always thought anyway when I saw her.
Yeah, the bags under her eyes. It's like, man, you just gotta. Speaking of makeup, him and his staff has spent quite a bit of money on hair and makeup. Seems kind of. I've never spent a dime on makeup unless I bought it for my wife, but so it seems crazy to most of us. But anyway, $30,000 is what was spent on hair and makeup. I mean, I just don't understand. But he was asked about this. I'll give Chicago media a little bit of credit for even asking the question, which they probably got pushed to the back of the line because of this. But here's his response.
About your spending of $30,000 from your campaign fund for hair and makeup. Can you respond to that and explain why you think that's an appropriate use of the campaign dollars to many people seems like a lot of money?
I think it's always appropriate to make sure that we're investing in small businesses, especially minority-owned, Black-owned, women-owned businesses. Our campaign spends money on food. We support Black and brown-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, printing. There are a number of things that my campaign spends dollars on. And I'm so committed to supporting small businesses that even as mayor, just made another announcement of another $35 million available for small businesses.
I don't think he understood the question. I mean, why $30,000 on hair and makeup? And if you've seen the guy, I mean, maybe without the hair and makeup deal, I mean, maybe he looks like he's been hit with a shovel. I don't know.
I don't think they have that good of makeup. Yes, unfortunately, I've spent makeup money on me,
but
not 30,000.
But you've been on stage. I mean,
yes,
people expect me to be ugly. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, a lot of small productions can't afford all the makeup because it's gotten to be expensive. So you have to have your own. And I've had it. My girls, when it was time for Halloween, I'd go, all right, girls, go get my makeup kit. They'd go get Dad's makeup kit.
That's awesome.
And they'd add all the stuff for Halloween and all. So anyway,
you know, I mean, but $30,000 just seems like a lot. I mean,
it's either a lot of food and why he's a little on the rotund side. I should be one to talk. Or there's a lot of people in his campaign that need a lot of makeup because $30,000 seems like a lot of money. Seems like, are you kidding me?
I'd have to look into it, but I mean, I bet I could get hair plugs for less than that.
You probably could.
But you know, it reminds me, Rush Limbaugh used to call Joe Biden plugs back in the day when he was just a senator. He never referred to him as his name. He just said plugs because if you remember when his hair was darker, you could actually see where they were popped in there in the forehead.
You know,
I just tan mine. I go outside and it gets nice and dark, and I don't that way. Yeah, you know, who cares? Who cares? If you're that vain, $30,000 probably ain't going to be enough. But anyway, in Richard's state of Idaho, the government has basically shut down. I think it's changed now. 500,000 acres of farmland. So because of water rights, and we did get a little bit of an interview with one of the Idaho farmers and his perspective. I think this came from Fox News, but this is only about a minute long here.
The state of Idaho and the Idaho Department of Water Resources has issued this curtailment of 500,000 acres. And to help put that in perspective, that's basically 781 square miles of farm ground that is being taken out of production. This is the largest curtailment in the history of the United States as far as farm ground. And of course, the worst problem is this is happening during a very plentiful water year. We have the reservoirs are completely full. And when I mean full, they're dang near breaking. The rivers are running as high as they possibly can, just trying to keep those dams from breaking. And I am personally going to look at a $3 million loss if this curtailment continues. And this will end my 135-year family farm legacy of growing potatoes in Idaho.
So give us your update on all of this, because this is hitting you specifically. So.
Oh yeah, and seeing what this is in eastern Idaho. So from where I live, I'm about as far west as you can go. If I drive for 14 miles, not even that, something close to that 12, whatever, I'll be in Oregon. Yeah. So I'm as far west in Idaho as you can go. This is clear over as far east as you can go. Mm. And it's a lot of farmland over there. It's my folks lived in Idaho Falls for a while, so that's in eastern Idaho. But the problem is they went to the governor when this first started happening. And it's kind of two watershed groups that had a formula, and then somebody in the government changed the formula in midstream, if you will. How's that?
That's pretty good. I like that. Yeah, that's good.
They had already planted all of their crops. The crops are growing, and potatoes now are going to be up probably 1.5 feet already, because put them in when it's cool early in the spring, and they're popping up and they're putting on buds already. And when they put on buds on the top, then the tubers are growing underground.
Of course.
So they're that far along to where they're up pretty good size. It depends on the crop and what it is, but we'll just stay with potatoes for the moment. They're growing all other kinds of crops over there. You've got to have hay for cattle. Sure. You've got other vegetables and things that are being grown over there. Well, they wanted to just shut off the water to them right now. We're in a high desert, and being in a high desert, nothing grows if you don't put water on it. I'm telling you, my lawn was crunchy because I was waiting for water to get in the ditch, because that's how I water my lawn. I have water rights on my property that I pay for every year. It doesn't come from the well. I have a pump that sucks it out of the ditch, and it goes, and I've got a system that I made up myself. But these guys were not going to be able to water anything. And after you've planted that and you've got the water in and how many passes you've made over that field, you're upwards of between $3,000 and $4,000 per acre. And then there were farmers going, I've got to water. I'm not letting this stuff die.
It'll just rot, right? I mean, it'll just...
No, it won't rot. It'll just dry up.
Yeah.
It'll just be like desert. It won't be anything. Said, I've got to water this. Well, if you water from those wells that we told you they had little red deals on them that came from this water resource Yahoo that Weaver something, I want to say William Weaver. I can't remember his first name, but it's Weaver, that is in charge of that area. Put all these tags on these big, humongous pumps that go to these pivot systems and stuff in order to water all these acres. And it said, if you water, we're going to fine you $300 per acre. Per acre. It's like, are you kidding me? And then they went to the governor and he said, well, my hands are tied. Nothing I can do about it. Oh, well, so sad. Well, word got out and they had the phone number and the state house was inundated.
Beautiful.
Just, I mean, they had thousands of calls. This stuff doesn't happen in Idaho.
Yeah.
So he goes, well, we got the two parties together and they worked it out, I want to say last Wednesday or Thursday. So the water rights thing for this year is okay. Here's the problem is they found cobalt in eastern Idaho. What happens when you're mining cobalt for all these electric cars and you think, oh, you're saving the planet? No, you're not. It gets tore all to hell to get the cobalt and all these other minerals. It takes 500,000 tons, I believe it is, of dirt to get enough for one stinking car. You just ripped the ground up to get this cobalt out. They found it over there, and the governor's showing him with a shovel in his hand and with the guy that it's an Australian company that has the rights to mine the cobalt in Idaho. And on top of that, I've got lots of hands. The money for this company that was essentially about to go bankrupt, got $15 million, I think, given to them from money that was supposed to go to Ukraine. So don't tell me that the government's not washing funds where it shouldn't be. And the other thing with cobalt is when you're mining it, it takes a potload of water. It takes bunches of it. Well, how stupid and short-sighted can you be to, you guys don't need to water crops. We don't need to eat. It's fine. Somebody else will grow stuff. We need this for our, no. So next year, I'm sure it'll be the same problem.
That's what I mean. Your governor's not a transplant from California that doesn't understand these things, right?
He's been here all his life. We don't know. I'm going to say check his account and check Weaver's account for funds that just mysteriously showed up. Well, here's another problem we've got in our state. We're going from water to air to electricity, where it's kind of a theme here.
It's all there.
They are going to take 100,000 acres to put in a damn wind farm in central southern Idaho. And our Senator Risch, the lady that was is in charge of the BLM, whatever, and not Black Lives Matter, but Bureau of Land Management, which we have a ton of Bureau of Land Management land in Idaho. Just really didn't care. They were going to put in 500 of these things, and because people were complaining a little, well, I cut it in half. How nice of you. But guess where the power is going to once these things supposedly get up and are working?
Where is the power running out? California?
Cali, yep, right there in good old California.
Chinafornia, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it's going there, and Risch goes, do you think this makes Idahoans happy? We're not thrilled with being invaded as it is. Now, here's something, I am wound up on this. There is also where they're putting these humongous, what are they, 285 feet high or something? I mean, they're huge.
Very huge, yeah.
They are monsters as they go by. In fact, it takes one semi to move one of the three blades.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Every blade that moves will only go on one semi. And they're not recyclable, and they wear out after about 20 years. When you're about to make money on things, you got to redo it all over again.
Those trucks are all burning diesel fuel. Just saying.
To get that. Yes, they are. But here's the problem in that within that 100,000 acres is it's called Hunt, Idaho, and it's I'm not even sure how big if Hunt even exists anymore. It's not much of a town. Wasn't then, isn't now. But it's where there was a Japanese internment camp that is supposed to be on the register of
protected or something.
Yes, all of a sudden the name just went.
A historic site type thing. Yeah.
Historic register
there you
of
go.
land. The Japanese, I'm telling you, they go out there all the time and clean stuff up. And so it looks almost like it did when they were there. It's something they take a lot of pride in. And this has happened in history. And we don't want to forget the history. Well, they're going to just start plunking down these great big, humongous windmills out there that sometimes it don't blow. Now, it does blow out there a lot. But there's a lot of time when it just doesn't. So our state's being invaded, if you will, and the chemtrails are getting bad, seeing it, a beautiful blue sky, and all of a sudden there's all these lines across the sky. It's like, stop that.
And you're called a conspiracy theorist if you even mention it. It's like,
Yep.
I don't know. Has your
so anyway,
governor
sorry,
always
I got a little wound.
No, you're good. Has your governor always been a kind of a rhino, or is this kind of something new?
No, he hasn't, we're kind of weird, but he was like, oh, my hands are tied, can't do anything. And then the state house, and it made national, international news, and he was making our state look like buffoons. And all of a sudden he went, oh, yeah, well, I took money for this, which I'm saying that is a guesstimate on my part, but something sure seems fishy.
And normally you boil all this stuff down, it comes down to money. Somebody's hand got
all
greased.
the money, because with 500,000 acres, as you heard him say, 784 square miles, you almost can't fathom that. I mean, I live here, and there's a lot of times you're driving on the road, and ain't nothing for hours. I drove right through the middle of the state out by the reactor. It's out near Arco, whatever. There is a nuclear reactor. There's nothing out there. I mean, nothing for hours. Nothing. But sagebrush, jackrabbits, and a few hawks. That's about it.
Maybe that's where you could put all the transplanted Californians. We just put them out there in the middle.
That would be a good place, in my opinion, to put them.
Yeah, we've got so many people that moved here. It used to be where you could drive for an hour and not see anything. But we've been Florida is worse, but I mean all of the South Tennessee is the same way. It's like you just don't see as much open land like it used to be. We've got so many people. Nobody wants to be up north anymore. So
yeah, I don't know what's going on, but something sure looks fishy that somebody got something somewhere.
And you had
just saying
banner year as far as rainfall and snowfall. So I mean, you've got lots of rain.
We had snow. There is still snow in the mountains in eastern Idaho that's got to come down into the reservoirs.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's a water shortage.
That
isn't the problem.
Because of lacking water. You're just lacking cojones in the state government.
Yes, yeah.
Goodness gracious.
He's not doing well right now.
He's probably not running for re-election either. That's the only reason he probably did this. So.
I don't know that he was going to run again. He's getting older, and he may have just wanted a nice windfall for retirement. I don't know.
Maybe if he gets
that's all conjecture. I don't know a thing. I haven't seen anything, but something tells me something's going to show up before too long. That was not right.
Nice 6-bedroom bungalow in the Virgin Islands somewhere. I mean, you might be able to put 2 and 2 together. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about, let's go with 1984 and all those things that were predicted in that book and how they're coming true today.
I saw the movie.
Yeah, the best way I could put up with that. So anyway, hang in there. We'll be right back.
Guests on the Stay Off My Lawn podcast stay at the luxurious Motel 6, right off I-75 on Highway 20.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work.
Sorry, I'm late.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn. Just past halftime, the cheerleaders kind of fell a little bit. That was kind of interesting, but
there was not much going on. I wasn't in the office. I had to go take a walk. I got a little wound up.
Yeah, but especially when it hits you personally, you should get wound up, and apparently that worked for Idaho because it did draw a lot of those people out and get them to the state house and to go, what in the blank is going on? And I think
it was getting close to doing what they did in Europe, and having lots of tractors and stuff show up at the Capitol would have not been a good thing. It would have been. It's an embarrassment as it is now. So.
Unfortunately, the way things are going in the United States, we might have to do that in Washington one day, and just like they did with all the trucks in Quebec, not in Quebec, but whatever their capital is up there, Ottawa. Yeah, they had to. All those trucks showed up, and so what the government do? They shut down their bank accounts. So it's just crazy stuff. But we're gonna have to stand up and take a stand for things. I think harder times are coming. So
well, that's kind of the reason we started this anyway. Is both of us had a view on things that this is just not right. We decided, you know what? If it messes up something else, that's fine. We're gonna have our opinions heard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're news junkies anyway, so it kind of comes naturally. George Orwell's book, 1984, you said you saw the movie and read the book. And
it was something that was shown to us in a history class, if I remember right, something to that effect. Because you gotta remember, I was in school and graduated way back in 74. So this was a big to-doing.
How was Woodrow Wilson back then? I mean, I heard anyway, he was always the worst president, but I don't think that was 71. Anyway, 1984.
And he was better. So he was a nicer guy.
Yeah, there you go. 1984 has been brought up by a lot of people about their dystopian atmosphere that we find ourselves in the U.S. lately. And Newsmax's Mercedes Schlapp, which I was concerned that I was going to say that correctly. She was talking about this the other day, and she made some very good points.
George Orwell's cautionary tale of 1984 is coming true. He famously wrote, "The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command, and if all others accepted the lie which the party imposed, if all records told the same tale, then the lie passed into history and became truth." This was supposed to be a warning. Well, instead, Joe Biden has adopted it as his official strategy. Truth now equals lies. Lies now equal the truth. And the gaslighting has become so intense, so confusing, that reality gets buried beneath it all. Welcome to 1984.
Oh, boy. 1984 was a good year for me. I can't really say, except for the time I was in basic training. I liked it in 1984. Now, the White House is exactly starting to tell us just that we can't believe our own eyes and ears, calling videos of Uncle Joe wandering around, slurring his speech, trying to shake hands with people that aren't there. This all came after a video of Obama. Everybody pretty much in the country has seen this, grabbing Joe's arm at a fundraising event in California and led him off the stage after he seemingly froze up. He very much like the guy from Kentucky.
The Senate.
Yeah. Anyway, it's like he just froze up. He just kind of stood there.
I'm not helping you now. While we're even, I hope you're happy.
There you go. See, that's all I want. Mitch McConnell, that's his name.
Thank you.
But yeah, he kind of froze up. You saw his face and kind of like he was. But supposedly, you can't believe those videos. Those videos were all made up. I say that if those videos are made up, why not just show me the real video then? I mean, if you know that that's a fake, show me the real video. Anyway, KJP, our good friend Corinne Jean-Pierre, was asked about this, and she had a perfectly good explanation.
Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attacked the president for thanking troops for thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy, this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. And instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos. And it is, again, done in bad faith.
No, manipulated videos. You mean the same area that had 4 or 5 different cell phones maybe, or somebody else taking video of stuff that all had exactly the same thing was not real?
I think everybody used the same editing program apparently, because all the videos look the same. Yeah, it's just kind of.
And Normandy, he didn't think any troops.
He did not.
He had to. Well, let's see. He exited and then had to exit.
Yeah, it depends. We'll leave it there. But yeah, and that's where I think we talked about this last week or the week before, where I have to hand it to Macron. He actually went over and shook hands with the World War II veterans that were sitting there, all 98 and above. I mean, they were. As he should, as anybody should, because he has a country now because of those guys and the ones that have passed on before. But Biden and Dr. Jill just kind of like exited stage left, literally. It was actually, he didn't think any troops. What in the world is she talking about? She must see a video that I didn't see. So anyway.
No, I don't think she saw anything that was correct. So yeah, it's like, what you saw from 4 different angles was all fake.
Apparently.
From 4 different, really?
Yeah.
Kind of like the rally this weekend in the Bronx, where it was all this hopping up and down and woo woo and music blasting, and it's like you got a big rally. Come on, folks, and you could barely hear them say anything back. Then there's finally a photo from pulled back. Mm-hmm. If there's 300-400 people there, I'd be surprised compared to Trump's 30,000. So.
If you haven't seen that, you need to look it up on YouTube. Look up Jamal Bowman and AOC. It was a rally, I think, for Jamal Bowman, but it's like both of them were like cussing up a storm, just screaming at the top of their. I was going to use the clip, but it's like I was a little lazy. I didn't want to go through and beep out everything.
Do all the editing. Yeah, he was. It was just ridiculous, and there was hardly anybody there.
It's incredible.
It was bad. They can say what they want, but you weren't performing for anybody.
This is about 3 weeks after Trump showed up in the South Bronx and had 30,000 people show up. Mm-hmm. Things are not looking good. Speaking of Uncle Joe and how that is all going, I had predicted a couple of months ago, and I'm not a good predictor normally, but I was thinking that Biden would be replaced at the convention by Michelle Obama. It seems like a couple of people much smarter than I am are starting to think the same way. Author Roger Stone was asked about this, and this was his take.
Do you think Joe Biden's going to drop out of the 2024 election?
Well, if you went to the Turning Point event in Palm Beach, which was a great event, I predicted in my remarks that shortly before the convention, the Democrats would recognize that Joe Biden is just not capable of getting through another campaign. If anything, things are worse now than they were then. He's non-compos mentis. It's quite obvious. The epic corruption of his family, including his son, his brother, and others, is now manifest. Everyone can see it. So I think the chances are greater than they have ever been before that Joe Biden will be replaced, that shortly before the convention, he will announce his decision not to resign, but to not run again. He will throw it open to the convention, and I still believe that the convention will draft Michelle Obama. Now, I haven't said Michelle Obama is running for president or wants to run for president, but I think the Democrats may persuade her that she could be their last best chance to stop Donald Trump's return to the White House. So I'll stick by my prediction, and we'll see.
Now, if that's what the Democrats think, I totally agree. I think that she would be their best bet to do anything because she's popular. She's
popular with who?
Well, I mean, with the Democrats. I mean, not with me
Well,
specifically.
she's not going to be the president anyway. We all know who will be pulling the strings on
fourth
that
term
one
for
again.
somebody. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's the same one who's been pulling it for the last 4 years, and they wanted a new set of strings, apparently.
Yeah, well, marionettes are tough on the fingers. Now, the first debate is 2 days from now on CNN with Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. I think it's Dana Bash. I think she calls herself Dana. Anyway, Biden has been prepping since Friday. He went to Camp David, kind of like a reclusively type thing. No meetings, no pressers, no nothing at this time, or since that time.
Prepping. I wonder if he remembers any of it.
I don't know. You know, I mean, I'm curious which Biden will show up. The one that is kind of slow and has a hard time remembering things, or it's going to be the angry guy that is screaming all the time. I'm curious. I think you can stream it. I saw. I get an email from USA Today, that left-wing rag, but I did get an email from them saying that you could live stream from their YouTube channel if you stream. I don't have cable. I don't have. I guess I can get the over-the-air antenna for the TV in the bedroom. I could watch it there. But then again, it's CNN, so I wouldn't have that either. But anyway, check that out. I think USA Today said they will have it free on YouTube on their channel. Now we'll have to wait and see if that's true. But yesterday, CNN's Casey Hunt had Trump's campaign national press secretary Caroline Leavitt on her show, and well, let's just say this is how that went.
So it takes someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently frequently likened President Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf,
and
I am willing to have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay.
Now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Caroline, thank you very much for your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome.
No, she's not.
To come back and speak about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us now at later this week in Atlanta for this debate.
Oh, she had a little tough time there to close that out. She had a little bit of a meltdown. I mean, she really didn't like all that. I mean,
they were actual facts of what's taken place, but that's not the fantasy world that the left propaganda machine lives in.
Of course. They had obviously they had an agenda for that meeting. Now you could blame Caroline for not having taken the opportunity to kind of talk about platforms and the whole thing and the differences between what Joe has done and what Trump did and the whole thing. But if you couldn't make out what she was actually saying there, which was kind of difficult with both of them talking at the same time, Ms. Leavitt was trying to say that Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, had in the past compared Trump to Hitler. Now, Ms. Hunt didn't care for that, apparently, and, of course, the meltdown ensued. But there is audio out there of Jake Tapper and Dana Bash doing just that. So here is how that is. It's a clip with both of them. The one from Jake Tapper is from December of last year, and the Dana Bash one is from March.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well on a national political stage. This time, of course, in the United States, this time given life by former president and current Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump.
Let's recognize this comment for what it is, a longstanding anti-Semitic trope that the true allegiance for Jews is to their religion rather than their country. It was used in Nazi Germany to justify the arrests, persecutions, and mass killings, attempted extermination of the Jewish people. And Trump has been pushing this trope for years.
So, I mean, she wasn't wrong. These guys, and these are the two people asking the questions at the debate on Thursday this week. So,
they're talking about the little mustached guy, and one thing that was big at that time and has been trying to be big all around the world with what some of these other 3-letter organizations are doing. One of them's a 2-letter. But at any rate, is use the media for propaganda. Say stuff that's so outrageous and so no. Well, it must be true if they're saying it.
Well,
and unfortunately, it's not working anymore. No. People aren't believing them for what they did during the pandemic, plandemic, I like to say. it's not going over. Even small stations, somebody is footing the bill because they are losing their shorts. Nobody's watching anymore.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. I don't even watch Fox News, and I know you don't either. But it's like I watch clips from it, but I mean, I don't subscribe to any of that stuff. But
Don't either.
But the Fox News outperforms CNN and MSNBC combined. So.
Yes.
What does that tell you right there? I mean, it means that there's more people that are not trusting of CNN and what MSNBC said because they do have an agenda. They have everything's about political opinions. It's not about facts anymore. Fox has some of that too. So, but
yeah, well, they were pushing that rally in the Bronx, and it was all this stuff, and look at what they're doing. Hey, they got a crowd there, and they never showed the crowd with Trump.
Not.
You always see somebody that's in a crowd. It's always a panoramic, and it's just a sea of people
with
everywhere.
Red hats everywhere.
Yeah, and this, somebody was way back. There was no crowd. There might have been 6 people deep in front of the stage, and that's about it, if that.
Maybe 100, 150 people. You know, it wasn't very much.
There was nothing. So I don't know who they were hyping for. It was mostly the propaganda so that it would go out via the news.
But you hit on a great point there. I think say something so outrageous to get clicks, to get likes, to get, it's all about social media anymore. And I think they've lost their way. And I think eventually they're going to have to go out of business. They're just going to have to.
This thing in Idaho with the water and the windmills, it was not in the news.
No.
Didn't see any of that in the news anywhere. All of a sudden, it started showing up after all the phone calls were going through. People were doing the investigating, not the dang news channels. I can tell you that right now. No. They weren't involved at all.
Well, I mean, because it doesn't follow their politically correct agenda. It's all about agendas. Anyway, we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of people that you might not think of that would support what happened to Trump, the 34 charges that he got felonized with. So I think I just made up that word. So
I'm going, I like that one.
That's
a
good one. It rolls off the tongue. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
The old guys return with more Stay Off My Lawn in just a minute. God help us.
I'll be here to hear what's on your mind.
As an adult, kids want to know you're listening to them, but they also want to listen to you. When it comes to alcohol, they want to know your expectations and how and why to avoid underage drinking. Talking early and often about it in everyday conversations reinforces your message and keeps lines of communication open. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I'll be by your side.
Hi, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 4. That's the last one. Sit down, shut up, and buckle up. I
got to move water again when we're done. So, hey, we're just about on time.
Exactly. All of the conservative media has been talking about the charges and convictions of Trump in the New York City area. And we all agree that something doesn't smell quite right. And it looks like the justice system has been weaponized by Biden against his main political opponent, which is where we get all the terms, the banana republic and all that kind of stuff, because that's exactly what they do.
Yeah. What's the old saying? If it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, sorry.
It's going to be a duck in there somewhere. Attorney Alan. That's good. I like that. We need to record that.
It makes babies smile.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it makes babies smile.
Nothing wrong with that. But
I interrupted. Sorry.
It's okay.
But my focus is just stay focused.
All right. Well, anyway, we're going to... Attorney Alan Dershowitz, who politically is far from conservative, has made his opinion known about these charges many times in the mainstream media. And then now it's gone to Judge Judy for her opinion. And from other clips that I've heard of her in the past, she's not necessarily a Trump fan. But she was interviewed by Chris Wallace from CNN. And this is what she had to say.
Is that the justice system working, or is it the justice system being manipulated?
I would be happier as someone who owns property in Manhattan if the district attorney of New York County would take care of criminals who are making it impossible for citizens to walk in the streets and use the subway to use his efforts to keep those people off the street than to spend $5 million or $10 million of taxpayers' money trying Donald Trump on this nonsense. That's my view. But I, as a taxpayer in this country, resent using the system for your own personal self-aggrandizement. Now, if you didn't know...
And that's what you think the DA did in Manhattan?
That's what I think. I mean, if you look... you had to twist yourself into a pretzel to figure out what the crime was.
I love that. Yeah, I like the way she talks anyway. But
did you see it? She was saying that, and he was sitting there just going,
this is not what I thought it was going to be.
It's like, what? Yeah. I'm sorry. Everybody's seeing this. Dershowitz, who is not a Republican.
Certainly not.
If anybody thinks so. He is, as is Judge Judy. She is someone who is the law, and that's the way it should be used. This is not what you do.
Right. They both know the law very well, and
Yes.
this is where...
Very well.
And they're honest enough to call balls and strikes, which is what you and I do. I appreciate her opinion on that. Even former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, who I believe he's trying to make himself relevant again. That would be a weird statement on a hat, personally. But anyway, he had some surprising opinions that he said on the Bill Maher show recently.
The case in New York, frankly, should have never been brought. And if his name was not Donald Trump, and if he wasn't running for president, I'm the former AG in New York, I'm telling you that case would have never been brought. And that's what is offensive to people. And it should be, because if there's anything left, it's belief in the justice system.
I'm surprised that he had that to say. I'll be honest. I would never...
Yeah, being from New York, what? You're disparaging? Yeah, everybody can see that it is nothing but a political sham, period. It's an absolute joke. And the things that the judge did, that that Braggs did, and all the stuff that was going on, and what the jurors did.
Yeah. And the daughter of Judge Marchand.
Daughter. It's as crooked as a dog's hind leg.
Absolutely.
I'm country, so that's what you're going to get when I say something.
I think why can't people see that? And again, I believe it's indoctrination. They believe in their cause so much that they can't even have any kind of discernment when it comes to something that just doesn't seem right. If it comes to their own party, they're not going to call it out. And that's the strength of the Democratic Party, unless you're talking about people on the ground, normal people that normally vote Democrat. And you and I have seen this. My son has even sent me videos of demographically diverse people that are going, yeah, we're not voting for this. This is stupid. I don't believe that men should be in women's restrooms. I don't believe the justice system ought to be prosecuting political opponents. It's like the list goes on and on and on, that the Democratic Party has kind of left their people behind.
Yeah, and that's not to say that we're all for that the Republican Party is 100% correct.
Oh, gosh, no.
No, we don't believe in that either. We'll call, as the old saying goes, a spade a spade.
Yeah.
If it's not right, it's not right. I don't give a crap whose party it is. Just like we have a Republican governor. That's not right.
Yep.
And that's kind of our belief. We had a wonderful
he should be fired for what
listener.
He did. That's what I think.
Yeah. I'm with you. It's like, you have just stepped in it, pal.
Yep.
You need to go back out with those horses where you can step on those road apples in your own time. But we had a lovely person who sent us, had some critiques, I guess, or their view was a little different from ours.
Yeah.
It was so respectful. I don't have a problem with that.
Of course not.
You have your view, and that's okay. I don't have to believe yours. You don't have to believe mine, but we can disagree to disagree and still be acquaintances that
the way it's always been.
Chat on occasion.
Yeah, the way it's always been. Nowadays, if you don't agree politically, you hate each other. Or at least on our side, we hate them. That's what they think. It's not that at all. It's not that at all. We
Democrats, there was a reporter who went to I've heard all this stuff and whatever. And he said, I'm just going to go over. And they were welcoming in line. You want to come in? Come on in. It's not a big deal. Another a black lady on the last election string of stuff went, and she went, I had heard that it was just horror and all they did was tear down. And they didn't do any of that. It was all positive and what we're going to do for the country. And it wasn't tearing down somebody else. It was what we're going to do to build up the country. And they're just shocked when they come away from, because the Democrat rallies, that's all they are, is disparaging somebody else and putting down something else to make themselves sound better.
And did you see the flip side of that when they went to the other side, when the Republican reporter, that lady, took her over there, and it's like they verbally beat her up as soon as she got there.
Yeah, it was almost like taking your life in your hands to go over there. Oh, you're a Republican. You're one of them.
One of them. You're a hate monger. You're whatever. It's like, geez Louise. Speaking of being a hate monger,
yes.
Yeah, we are in the middle of Pride Month. If you haven't noticed,
they're down between 30 and 35%. Corporations have went, nope, don't want to be part of this no more.
I remember, I think it was just last year that almost everybody had rainbow flags on there or the rainbow colors on their logo. They would change it for the whole month. I haven't seen it that much this year.
No, and the commercials have been very few and far between. Yeah. You do you, boo. If you want to be like that or that's your thing, great. No, I don't have to get on your train to ride with you if I don't want to.
I will support your right to do it, but I'm not going to support the whole idea. I mean, but you know what? Again, I always fall back on, it's a free country. You got the First Amendment. You've got these things. It's like you do exactly what you said. So I don't really care, but can I endorse you? No. I mean, that doesn't mean that I don't like you. I mean, it just doesn't mean that. Anyway, we've been over this before. I remember when my son was just started high school, and I remember teaching him about pride and how that works and how to keep it in check. And pride, of course, that word's been hijacked, just like the rainbow has been hijacked from Christianity or Judaism. So, I mean, I would tell him, look, if you get an A on a paper and you've accomplished something like that, yeah, be proud of yourself for that. It's wonderful. Don't rub it in other people's faces, but be proud of yourself. That's what pride is. I've done something good. I've built this building as an adult, or I've done whatever. That's great. You should be proud of that. But don't be proud of something you had no hand in. And I remember saying that specifically. And it's like, look, you know, if you've been born smart, or you're born handsome, or born what, and he was none of those things. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, you can't be proud of that. You didn't do anything to accomplish that. If you're born black or white or Hispanic, you can't be proud. I firmly believe, and I will stand up to anybody that says anything different, you cannot be proud of your race. You did not choose your race. You did not accomplish your race. You didn't accomplish any of that stuff. So, in people that are involved in Pride Month, or the family that I have that are gay, it's like they say that they were kind of born that way. And if that's the case, you shouldn't be proud of that, because that's just who you are. So anyway, don't be tempted to be proud of something you didn't have a hand in. So anyway, the George Carlin had a clip of this some years ago. Of course, he's been dead for 15 years now. But he sums it up pretty quickly, in what pride actually is, as opposed to what it is today.
To me, pride should be reserved for something you achieve or attain on your own, not something that happens by accident of birth. Being Irish isn't a skill. It's a genetic accident. You wouldn't say, I'm proud to be 5'11". I'm proud to have a predisposition for colon cancer. So why the fuck would you be proud to be Irish, or proud to be Italian or American or anything? If you're happy with it, that's fine. Do that. Put that on your car. Happy to be an American. Be happy. Don't be proud. Too much pride as it is. Pride goeth before a fall. Never forget Proverbs, okay?
Listen, this is the same thing for I'm black and I'm proud. What I can actually be well pleased with are the things that I've had something to do with. My accomplishments, my achievements. Color isn't one of them. I had absolutely nothing to do with that. That's all God.
I'll be honest, I don't know who that lady is at the end, but I had to tack that on because it was so good. When I did research,
Good
I
for
found
her.
Yeah.
It was like, if you're working hard and you're doing things and stuff happens, Mike and I both do voiceovers for different genres and things. And every once in a while, man, we hit the nail on the head and boy, you feel good about working with it. You don't understand the amount of hours of practice and being in groups to practice with others and the coaching and the buying of the equipment. It's not a cheap get rich quick scheme to be a voiceover.
But all it is talking, right?
Yeah, that's all you're doing, talking. That's all we do now. Well, some people don't think it's talking, but at any rate,
whatever.
It's just one of those things where, when you've done well, it's nice to hear that you did well because we don't get much feedback. When you do a lot of auditions, you send them in, you don't
Almost
hear squat,
zero.
you just
Almost
don't get
zero.
the job.
But that's the beauty of these classes. You and I had a class together a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, and I had some positive feedback with the way I read a couple of the scripts. That really felt great, because you never get that.
Yeah. So you can be proud of that you've worked hard and that it's showing. So
absolutely.
Anyway,
so we need a palate cleanser.
Yes, we do.
We have another Paul Harvey rest of the story, which has been kind of our theme lately. We need to do something different, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I need to find some stuff. Sorry, it's my bad.
We both have been busy, so it's neither one of our faults. It's summertime, exactly. I've been trimming trees and whatever. Anyway, this is about a lady that had a terrible fear of cars, and it's very interesting. So here is Paul Harvey.
Now, the rest of the story. Even as a little girl, she hated long car rides. Said they made her sick to her tummy. One day she was old enough to drive, and a handyman who worked for her parents taught her how. It was maybe one of the most traumatic things that ever happened in his life and hers. Not only did the little girl dislike driving, she was sometimes afraid behind the wheel, and she was terrible at parking. In fact, her family and friends were amazed that she even got a driver's license. But eventually she did, and the point is that she preferred almost any other kind of transportation. Sailboating was especially fun for her, and she was good at it, too. Didn't have the slightest fear of water, and walking, whenever time permitted, she would travel on foot virtually regardless of the distance. Only when the situation demanded would she go by car. And then only the shortest distances, because long rides still made her car sick. And she always drove as slowly as possible, because speed terrified her. And wouldn't you know, one day, the woman who hated driving married a man who just loved cars. Now, this fellow had been auto racing even long before his marriage. Slick chassis profiles and powerful engines and high speeds had been his passions since boyhood. His tendency to take chances made his interest even more dangerous. Reckless his driving was sometimes called, but the risk was only part of his lifetime fascination with automobiles. He had a huge collection of cars, including about a dozen vintage ones. Most of the old-timers had been purchased in bad condition so that he could have the thrill of restoring them. He owned another dozen cars as well, recent models. Almost all of them were high-powered roadsters and roaring racers. Their sophisticated machinery provided uncountable hours of joyous tinkering, and their power, well, that was the essence of his greatest joy, speed. His friends never quite figured out why a man who so loved automobiles would marry a woman who so detested them. But he did marry her, and you know what? They were so much in love that the main difference between them lost its significance. How they worked things out was he accepted her dislike of long car trips, he accepted her fear of fast driving, and she agreed to tolerate his speed as long as she was not along for the ride. For example, should he wish to make a precipitous hairpin curving dash through the mountains in one of his sports cars, she would simply stay home. Whenever a drive through the mountains was unavoidable, her husband would drive on ahead at his own speed, while she and her car would follow slowly at a comfortable distance. That's pretty much the way it happened that summer day, going on 27 years ago. That's how come she was behind the wheel when her car tumbled over a cliff and off a mountain road, and those closest to her recalled the tragic irony of her lifelong fear of driving, a lifelong fear which she was never able to explain. Grace Kelly, Princess of Monaco. Yes, now you know the rest of the story.
I had never heard that story. I didn't even know how she died, to be honest. So,
well, I knew how she'd passed and that it was in an auto wreck on a mountainous road, but I did not know she had a fear of cars. So,
very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could tell this is Paul Harvey in his later years.
Yeah.
It's like his false teeth kept dropping down a little, and
his voice
but you know
is
what? He
giving out a
still
little
sounded and still had the great delivery. I don't care. I still listen to him.
It was all about
He
the
was-
delivery with him anyway. I mean, but he turned out he was iconic, and he still is to me. So
He was my lunch buddy for years.
Yeah. When I was in the military, it was almost every day. Anyway, we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Smart Speaker, Rumble, YouTube sometimes. Anyway, you can find us. Just start looking.
Or you can just go to our website. It's stayoffmylawn.us for all our past and present episodes. And we sure appreciate you listening and telling others to listen as well.
Absolutely. So we will see you next week, folks.
Toodles, have a great week. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Well, mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.